What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into the Bear With Us podcast. I am Frank. Joined with me is Nas. Nas, how you feeling?
I feel good. Caleb era. Let's go.
Yeah, it's I was saying this to Jack on the sort of immediate reaction podcast. It's kind of weird to even be excited about it. I'm like not excited about it anymore because I like celebrated months ago. Like once the decision was final and we knew it was happening, it just like this just felt like, you know, it's like you've been dating for someone for like 10 years and you finally just get married. Like, fuck it, let's just get married today. Like, you know what I mean? Like we sort of already been, you know what I mean? It's,
you know, I think I actually disagree with that feeling. I think I had a certain level of anxiety because we've never been in this scenario before. And it was like, I can't trust this franchise to do anything. I can't trust the Bulls to do anything. I can't you just in this city, you know, we're starving for championships and we have won this century. So it's like incompetence and negative like context, the negative self-talk and team talk, it's contagious, you know? So to actually see it happen like on live television that we like took the guy that we all wanted, it was like there was like a release and a sense of relief. Like I was just with my buddies up the street at a bar and we're watching it and we are celebrating like we won something.
Yeah.
You know, when Caleb comes up onto the stage and gives that big woo, like I fucking went woo, like I got jacked up. I was so thrilled. I was so happy. I got emotional. I actually really did. I really do think like this is a turning point. This is going to be an inflection point. And for like the next like 15 years, it's going to be different. Like
I agree.
Like the vibe. That's the vibe for sure.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think we just dive right in because this episode has a chance to be like an hour and a half long. So to our listeners, we are just delving into the draft picks themselves, what we think, and wherever it goes, whether it starts projections or this, I mean, I don't know. It's going to go wherever it goes. So we've already started talking about Caleb Williams. What you talked about, Nas, not only because the one thing that is very clear here on multiple fronts is we're going to leave this situation one way or the other with zero doubt. We can't hindsight and say, well, maybe they should have taken Drake May, or maybe this guy is the best quarterback prospect in the class. There is no debate there. If there is one, you're just looking for clicks, right? So I like that to me will never be even explored, even if another guy winds up being better. It will never be explored.
If we put context into it, there is more certainty about this draft pick than anybody else that got taken in this first round.
Correct.
If there's in terms of consensus opinion, the Bears made the pick that the majority of scouts, fans, and spectators all agree with. And there's no argument to say, oh, they should have taken Jaden or they should have taken Drake off of both players 1 year of performance of like a surreal performance. Jaden his senior year, Drake not even this past year, the year before.
Yep.
And Caleb has put together, and you can say whatever you want about Caleb's senior season. Look at where his teammates got drafted and look at where someone like Michael Penix's teammates got drafted. Okay. The surrounding talent isn't even close. Okay. So to do what he did in a 7-5 season was still impressive. Then you put on the Oklahoma and the USC years on top of those. Like this isn't even a debate about who should have been taken first.
Yeah. And the thing is like, just like you said, look at this last season with USC. If that's his floor, I mean, what are we talking about right now?
What are we talking about?
You know, so like it's ridiculous. But I think with that to continue to add on or to go down that road, the other thing is we're not going to be left with any doubt because he's set up for success day one. We've never experienced this before in Chicago. Again, like, not that I agree with it, but there are still people who like bang the drum, like maybe Mitch wasn't so bad, he went, and it's like, I don't agree, but the fact that the argument's even still there is absurd. Like, We've never, I mean, he's coming in with DJ, he's coming in with Keenan, he's coming in with Odunze, he's coming in with Komet, he's coming in with Swift, and a solid running back room in general, a solid O-line. Like, this is great. Not only does he have the talent for it, but now there's just no excuse. So again, like, and maybe this is more of a pessimistic take, but at the very least, like, we're talking about Caleb Williams' floor. Our floor as fans is like, well, if the guy stinks, he's just gonna stink. You know what I mean? I don't think he will. I'm just saying, like, he's set up where there is no excuses. So with his floor being as high it is, with the ceiling as being as high it is, there isn't gonna be an excuse for him to reach those. Like, it's there, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. So it's again, just from a total package standpoint, there is no hindsight. This is it. He was set up for success. Let's roll. Let's move forward. It just feels like we're entering a new era in a proper way.
I couldn't really agree more. I love the setup for him. I mean, dudes are gonna be open. I think what I would advise all Bear fans to do is, like, let's try to do this all within reason. Like, he's gonna have rookie hiccups.
Of course.
Caleb's gonna be the type of quarterback where he actually is gonna look. It's gonna be the opposite of Justin. He's actually gonna look better in a 2-minute and a hurry up than he does when defenses are really able to dial up things up against him and bring exotic pressure. Where he's going to shine is going to be those final 2 minutes of the first half and the final 2 minutes of the game is where we're going to really see the talent just, like, fucking skyrocket and really bubble up. And, he's going to take his rookie lumps, in the heart of the game. So
yep.
Let's temper, like, I do want to temper the expectations on some level. Like, he's still a rookie. Like, there are going to be hiccups, and we are going to see an arm level talent that we've never seen. We are going to see a decision-making talent that we have not seen. And we're also going to see a supreme confidence that we have never seen at the quarterback position. You can say Jay was a confident dude. He was confident in one thing, that he could fit the throw into any window. He was not confident in anything else. I would say he was arrogant. That is how I would classify Jay.
Yep.
And that's fine. And that sometimes works out okay for quarterbacks. But Caleb's aura is just, oh my God, sign me the fuck up. The Bears.
I know. And that's and honestly, those were some of my prevailing thoughts after seeing some interviews, after, seeing, tweets about what he's doing for other guys who have been drafted. I mean, his leadership and his all-in, his sort of like buy-in of being a Chicago Bear is just on full display. So it's like, and I also think not just towards generational talent, but towards any talent in general moving forward. And it's not applicable to only Bears fans and NFL fans. You probably take this to the NBA too. You're seeing it with Anthony Edwards. Like, his biggest knock was he may not love basketball. He fucking loves basketball, dude. Look at Caleb Williams. He's not a great leader. He's fucking texting the punter that we drafted in the 4th round. He's texting guys right away. Not only that, the most impressive thing is he's already on the field with DJ Moore. And that's not, that in and of itself isn't impressive. That to me is more of an expectation, but DJ Moore is already talking about how they're getting on the same page. And he didn't mean to make it a one-to-one comparison to Justin, but he sort of did. And he was like, the one thing that's already like way better is just, he's telling me what he's anticipating me to do. And like in certain coverages where I should be and where he's expecting me to be. So I just have to do my job. Like the anticipation is already, and like, so again, I go back to like being set up for success. The one thing that defenses couldn't do against Justin for a multitude of reasons was run man defense. Because if you ran man, he could beat you. That's when he can beat you with his arm. But then if you got pressure on him, he was such a supreme athlete that he can just run, and it's harder to tackle someone like him when you're playing man. Caleb, it's going to be the total opposite. It's going to be a ton of zone. But the fact that his mind is already there, and he has guys like Keenan who can just knows how to sit in zones. Komet has shown us that as well. DJ, I mean, the versatility that he had. I mean, this is going to be something special. I think you're talking about rookie bumps, and I don't disagree. I just think his rookie bumps are going to look a lot more like Andrew Luck and CJ Stroud than 100%. A Justin Fields or a Mac Jones or some of those guys.
We're going to see instances where he makes huge mistakes and overcomes them in the same game.
Yep.
Like it's like, and when you think of Andrew Luck, like that is like the thing that I think of in regards to his rookie season is that dude like threw like 25 interceptions, something crazy. But like fourth quarter time, It was like, all right, whatever. Like, we're fine. I'm gonna get us back in this game, and we're gonna win this game. And they got
Yep,
to. I think they got to the playoffs his rookie year.
they did 10-6.
Yeah.
10 and
Well,
6. And
I think Caleb. We're gonna see turnovers from Caleb. I don't
yes,
don't get it twisted. We're gonna see it, and we're gonna see him overcome those mistakes and will his team into games or to win games.
yep. And you know what, Naz? One thing that we've talked about over the years, and we via text message, we misrepresent our stance on this. I think we're more responsible on the podcast. But the one thing that I've always told you is that turnovers don't necessarily bother me. It's not to say just turn the ball over all the time, but one of the points that you always made about Justin Fields was always 100% correct. Sure, if he's trying to make a play and you fumble, I mean, it sort of is what it is sometimes. You're trying to be an athlete, you're trying to make the throw, so you know, maybe toss into double coverage because you believe in your arm. But where Justin fell short is he never made up for it in game, just like what you're talking about. Like, if you have a couple of picks, but you had that game-winning drive, who fucking cares? If you make a few mistakes throughout the game, but you're able to make up for that, that was something that Jay struggled with a lot as well. It's snowballed with these guys. I'm expecting Caleb, and I mean, it's going to happen every now and then. The greats have these snowball games. It is what it is. But consistently, these snowball games happen with guys like Cutler, with guys like Mitch, with guys like Justin. I'm not expecting that to be a huge theme throughout Caleb's career. Will they happen? Yes. We've seen Aaron Rodgers have that game. We've seen Brady. It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. It's the nature of the position. But to your ultimate point, he has the tools, he has the confidence, he can make every single throw to make, I mean, he could have an awful 3 quarters and just can't catch heat in the fourth.
100%.
You know?
The fact that people are underrating his throwing ability, like, especially, okay, first of all, fuck the Falcons and everything that they have been doing PR-wise to spin this Michael Penix bullshit. They were unprepared for this offseason. It is so unbelievably clear. And fucking all these stories. Oh, he throws a pure ball. He's the best thrower in the draft. All right. Watch that guy roll out of the pocket and see how he throws then, guys. All right. Fuck right off. You guys had no idea what you were doing. You signed a ridiculous contract. You're literally, and I think Nick Wright said this, you're just trying not to be awful. And that's fine. But
Yeah.
just call a spade a spade. The best thrower in this draft is Caleb Williams. All right, guys. It's arm strength, accuracy, anticipation, touch. He has all of the components. He can put it anywhere with the appropriate touch at the appropriate time in stride. So I don't want to hear this bullshit anymore. Fucking Michael Penix, Drake, man. I don't want to hear it. Jaden Daniels, fuck off. One read and run bullshit.
No, 100%. I'm right there with you. And the thing is, I feel like as I've gotten older, I fall less and less in love with like the raw talent. Because sure, are there a couple of guys that maybe throw the ball harder than Caleb? Sure. What the fuck ever. It's the same thing. Like, do you remember being a kid? I'm sure every young sports fan has had this moment where like for me, it was Gerald Green. I'm like, why is he not getting playing? He's so fucking athletic. He can shoot. Like, and it's like, because he can't really play basketball. Right. And it's the same thing. And I think it's a pretty good apples to apples comparison because Joe Milton, fucking gun of an arm, probably the strongest arm in the NFL right now. Since he's been like, just insane. But it's the things that you talked about, the touch, the anticipation, the ability to read pre and post snap stuff. That is so much more important than just your raw arm talent ability, which he still has. Let's make no mistake. But all that other stuff is so much more important. It's exactly why someone like Aaron Rodgers is not greater than Tom Brady. And it's not to say that Aaron doesn't have a lot of that stuff, but Tom excelled at a rate that we've never seen a quarterback in our era anyway ever do at that. Like, because like he didn't have the strongest arm. He maybe wasn't always the most accurate, but his ability to diagnose blitzes and do everything pre and post snap and anticipate and was insane. Even to a point, like, forget even throwing. He knew just immediately from a pre-snap read, he was able to audible to a run. And he would even, he's like getting on podcasts and doing things nice. Like, I would run the same play 3 straight until you can stop it. You show me you can stop. Like, it's that type of thing that puts you in that conversation. So people who fall in love with maybe Michael Penix's raw arm strength, maybe it is better. Who the fuck cares? That's like, that's like juvenile thinking to compare quarterbacks.
Guy's 35.
He's got like, grown man strength already.
He's slinging it. Fine, sure, okay. And like the thing you said about Tom, it's like it's not like Tom. Like when you think of like best throwers of the football, like though I think Tom is underrated as a thrower,
Agreed.
he still isn't what it comes to my mind. What comes to my mind with Tom is game management and the ability to impose his will on a game and dictate the pace of a game, and like also being able to make proper throws at the proper time. But like especially in the latter parts of his career, the ability to make those throws was secondary. He would do the LeBron thing and control the pace of the entire game and bend it to his will and put his team in a scenario when they're in the fourth quarter they can win the game. That's really what matters. You reach a certain level where the arm strength doesn't matter. You reach a certain tier where it becomes decision making, touch, and also looking at a defense and knowing where the ball needs to go. So, I'm just so happy. I love that. I love that we're maybe not you, but I'm a little heated. I'm feeling heated. Like I'm feeling excited. Like,
Oh yeah,
let's fucking go.
We're entering the NFL space. I was just having this conversation where like I'm almost pissed off because of it. Like I'm all amped up. Like this is the first time in my life that I feel like the Bears crushed it. Like this has been an awesome draft again. And some of these guys may bust, and that's okay. But just like where the board fell, there is no doubt. Outside of maybe when we talk about Rome, I know me and you maybe agree, on some things there. But I think last things with the Caleb stuff. Well, two last things. One, I just want to continue to notate. I love how with the bear claw, like he's in. So anyone like and I will never not tell RG3 to give me fellatio because he's a fucking bitch, and I'll tell it to his face
sucks.
with the whole you pull the Eli stuff. Look at how in this kid is, and let's make no mistake about this, Nas. I don't know if he would be the same way if it were the Commanders or someone else. I'm not saying he wouldn't be. I'm just saying Ryan Poles went above and beyond, not only to make sure that that Caleb was the right fit for the Bears and what they had going on, but that the Bears were the right fit for him. He's going out to dinners with teammates of the future at that point, and getting to know them. The way that they kept in contact, I believe it was DJ saying, "Yeah, we've been texting every week, even before, like way before the draft. Like we've been texting on a weekly basis just to check in on each other." Like this whole thing was catered to make sure that this was the right move to move forward. And to sit here and act like, oh, the Bears going to ruin another quarterback. Like, dude, if you're not paying attention to what Ryan Poles is doing, like it's such a lazy take to say, because historically the Bears have had bad quarterbacks and maybe ruined some good prospects in the past. Like, it's so lazy. And I will never not, when this topic comes up, notate that.
Fuck Emmanuel Acho. Fuck RG3. Fuck Coward. Fuck all these guys. Like, you're not dialed in. It, like, you could even tell in the phone call that the Bears posted, like, Poles and Caleb have clearly been in, like, there's been a very open line of communication. And it kind of reminded me of, like, college recruiting on some level. Like, Poles is, like, and I think it's a super smart way to go. Like, Poles is creating buy-in with this player that he ultimately is the boss of. And he's going to be picking, but instead of taking on that old school role, like, you're going to come here, you're going to work hard, it's a privilege to be a Bear. That's not what this generation's about, man. And he got buy-in because he tried to create a real relationship with this dude. You can see it in the phone call. The Flus part of the phone call, I don't know as much because I thought it was a little off. And I was like, yeah, Flus, that a little weird to say I love you. I don't know. You dropped an L-bomb phone call drafting a dude. Like, this dude's never even played for you yet, bro. That's a little weird. But, I mean, it's clear that Poles and Caleb are in lockstep and, like, have been in clear communication. It was really nice to see. And fuck all those haters who put, who's going to believe RG3's takes, like, that least likable teammate out there? Okay?
Yeah.
It's not like he's got guys on the inside. Okay. He wasn't in the league that long. So dudes he played with, like, they're not even in, like, the front office. Like, those aren't guys who haven't elevated a front office position. So it's like, I don't really know how he would have a take that I would actually be like, oh yeah, like, that was thoughtful. And, like, I actually kind of trust that guy. Fuck that guy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just clickbaiting.
Yep. No, and that's my problem is that people were allowing that to have legs because, okay, he Eli's it out. So he goes to Washington, who's also has, I mean, you think about franchises who've had the worst either luck or, you know, the worst at scouting quarterbacks. It's probably the Bears, the Browns, and Washington. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, he's acting like there was someone at number 2 was sitting there that just was like awesome at developing quarterbacks historically. The whole thing was just so silly to me that was the argument.
Washington's so bad at football, they're hiring basketball guy to run their front office. Like,
yeah,
fuck out of here.
Yeah, the whole thing was dumb. I did want to put a button on it though because I'm glad you brought up the buy-in thing that Poles is doing. I almost wonder if what he's doing has more of an effect like Sean McVay did. He's 38 years old. That's what I was Googling really quick. Like, I think that's why he has a pulse on these younger guys like that. I think he's not far removed from it. Just like you talked about, these guys aren't built for that dumb. I mean, the way that do you remember was it a 30 for 30 when Jim McMahon talked about when he got drafted and like the owner was like trying to talk shit and like, yeah, and he was like, well, fuck you, what'd you draft me for then? It's like there was a clear disconnect right off the bat because there's this old man trying to son this young kid and forever, but especially in today's climate, that's not the way this works. The people don't take to that anymore. Like I think our generation and below has been instilled, like, forget age, you have to respect me still as well. There is no like automatic because you're older than me nonsense. Like, that's just not a thing. And I think Ryan Poles truly understands that.
You know, I think I completely agree. And I think if you have observed Caleb in any sort of way, one thing is clear about him. He has a strong personality.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're going to try to get the most out of a player, you need to find the right way to approach him and build that relationship so that at one point where you've developed trust, you can push harder on someone to get more out of them, to demand more out of them. If you do not have that relationship cultivated, that's just noise to them. They're not fucking listening to you. They're going to do their own thing. And that's when they start throwing the coaches under the bus or teammates and demand trades. Like, that's not how this generation of player, and specifically someone like Caleb, it's very clear, like, he thinks of himself as a brand. He's a business man. Like, and you can also tell he loves football, but wants to be the leader of that ship. So it's like, oh, there's things to balance here. And Poles, can we just give it up for this fucking guy?
Masterclass.
An iconic 14-month run here. It's fucking absurd. I'm ready to like enshrine him right now. Just like Caleb could be shit. He could be shit. And I will still have Poles up there with any GM and this run that he is on.
I know,
without a doubt.
And that's like the whole point is like, forget you can't do hindsight on this. Even if none of this works, if Caleb busts immediately, he's awful, and you know, Odunze's awful. Like, it doesn't, like, all of this right now makes sense. That's all we've ever asked for, and we're getting it. Now it's just about execution and you know, the other things that go into actually winning games. But like, on paper, this is exactly what you were supposed to do, and it's phenomenal. Naz, any other thoughts, Caleb, before we move on to Rome?
This will be the longest wait between draft and training camp that there has ever been in the history of the Bears.
I know.
I would say maybe the year after the Super Bowl, I wasn't alive. I bet people were like, "Fuck yeah, like, let's go back to back." Like, I'm sure it was lit in '86, guys. I'm sure it was, but I wasn't around that. And this is as excited as I have ever been in an off season. Get me to training camp, please.
Same. I'm right there with you. And I just like. We're not dealing with, because again, forget what you think about Mitch, but he wasn't going to be the starter right away. It was going to be Glennon, and how long is it going to be? And it's like, we knew we weren't a good team. Let's just get the kid out there and see what he can do. Like, we're not dealing with any of that. It's right out the gate. Let's go. I love it. I can't wait. And speaking of right out of the gate is a guy who's going to get playing time immediately. The number 9 overall pick, Rome Odunze. Now, before I toss it to you, Naz, the scenario in which we painted, we weren't wrong. So now it's really going to be about him outperforming some of these guys to prove us wrong. Because what I said when we were ranking these receivers was I had Rome solidified at 3, but I didn't have him so far in the lead above someone like Xavier Worthy, above someone like even like a Keon Coleman or a AD Mitchell. Like, I didn't say, I do think slightly higher, but to go from like 9 to 25 or 28 and to get one of those dudes and get a second or do whatever, like it still maybe would have been worth it for me. So that scenario was on the table. But they go with Rome anyway, who was clearly his guy, because Poles just had an interview today, I think on ESPN 1000. He said, I was almost going to trade up for him. Like I was worried he wasn't going to be there. So he saw his guy. He made it happen. Nas, what are some thoughts?
Since we last spoke, I've done a little more Rome. Like I was just like, I felt like I was just like, am I possibly wrong about this guy? Like, is he actually closer to Neighbors than he is like the Brian Thomas, Xavier Worthy group? And the answer is yes. I think this guy is going to be really good. I'm really excited. I do think we kind of just overlook the fact that this dude catches 50-50 ball after 50-50 ball. Like it's kind of crazy. And with all of that said, and I love him and I think he's going to be good. If the Bears went D tackle, 3 technique, or traded back, I wouldn't have been upset. In terms of a roster building standpoint, I would have been okay with those things. Do I love that we have 3 legit receivers and depth all over our skill position guys? Yes, I do love it. I do think when one of your team's biggest strengths is receiver is dicey, because receivers, you can say what you want about receivers. They are divas, boys and girls and everyone out there. It is a very dicey situation. There's going to be someone in this 3 that feels they are not getting enough balls.
Yep.
And unfortunately for us, one of those guys is a rookie. And if he doesn't get the ball, the other 2 are going to be like, shut the fuck up. And hopefully that is the end of it. And there's none of that. But if one of those dudes is Keenan or DJ, this is a possible issue. There's potential for that. We take Murphy at 9. Oh, baby. Like, we're kind of locked and loaded on both sides, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like, we would still get by just fine with Keenan, DJ, Everett, Swift, Kmet. We would have gotten by just fine if we take Murphy at 9. We trade back and build the interior and still take a receiver. We're just fine.
Yep.
So, I mean, I do love Rome. I love that Poles loved Rome. Like, and I'm not going to doubt Poles. And we're going to talk about this later when we get to the other draft picks. I know I'm going to love this guy. I just feel like,
yep,
from a roster building standpoint, it wasn't the most optimal way to go. It's still a good way to go. I don't feel like it was the most optimal. What's your take?
I agree. And that's what I was trying to articulate when I was saying if Rome is there at 9, that the trade back, it's not anything on him. I think he's a phenomenal player. And to add some stats into what you were saying, 74.1% contested catch rate. And out of Marv, Neighbors, and him, he had the lowest drop rate at 3.3% for his career. I mean, this kid doesn't fucking drop. So the one thing that we don't have a pulse on, and it's probably why they weren't too worried about giving up draft picks in this year's class, is that next year's class is renowned as way better, right? So maybe that's why you don't trade back. Fuck a second round pick this year. Like, we're not all that in on this year's draft like that. So trading back doesn't mean anything, but we feel like this is top heavy, and this is one of the top heavy guys. I'm all in there. But to your point, that's where I stood when we were talking about it was, am I going to love Odunze if he's here 100%? Because he's a phenomenal prospect. There's no doubt about it. From a roster building standpoint, I think you don't lose much by going back into the late teens, early 20s, grabbing whoever you like, Leggett, Brian Thomas, whoever's there, and then getting a pass rusher maybe in round 2, right? But that was before the full draft, played out. This is us talking through it, and I still agree with that. But again, to me, remember we were talking like, no matter how you slice it, we're in a position that we've never been in before, because we were just being greedy. That's all we were. A trade back was being greedy too. A trade back was just what you just said. We're okay with Keenan. We're okay with Kmet for another year. Maybe we look at receiver. Maybe we extend. Maybe we do give Keenan a little bit of money to stay an extra year just to solidify some things. We're like, just no. Let's feed the beast. Let's just go with our strength. But it would have been the same exact thing trading back. Let's be greedy. Let's go all in. You know what I mean? Let's show the world that we're okay with what we got. That we don't necessarily need a top 3 receiver prospect. Like we're in a position that no matter what they did, it would have made sense. Because he's just built such a good roster right now. Now depth, you may have a little bit of worry about moving forward, and that's okay. This is still year 3 for him, but like just the start, but like we're getting real blue chip talent now. Like it's undeniable what he's doing from that standpoint. So but the 2 things for me was I think they looked at next year's I think they looked at next year's draft and the possibility of not re-signing Keenan and said this kid's going to be a number 1 one day. He's 6'3". 220 with the ability to grow. Route tree's crazy. He doesn't drop the ball. Larry Fitzgerald has been the prevailing comp for him. Let's get him now. Worry about whatever later. But 2, that was my only worry, was especially because what I thought about was the Jackson Smith-Njigba comment of like, oh, they signed Waldron? Well, okay, good for them. He's, that sort of like iffiness about, and it was sort of the same situation. He was wide receiver 3, he didn't get the ball as much. Now, that could have been a him thing. It could have been. But I will say, with the scenario that you painted, because you're right, wide receivers are divas, and I'm ready for some divas in Chicago. Let's make no mistake, we need that. But it's gonna speak to the culture that they've created if there's a little bit of those rumblings.
I will say, if we had these 3 divas at receiver and Justin was the QB, I'd be a lot more concerned.
Oh, I agree,
because they would bully that guy. I'm just being real. Caleb's gonna say, back the fuck off. This is my offense. That's true. Like I do think Justin's leadership style was effective. I'm not saying it's not, but I do think we've had the nice guys at QB. I feel like you just need like a cocky motherfucker, like saying like, nah, this my shit. And I think Caleb's suited to deal with these 3 dudes being like, yo, I need the ball. Not to mention, like, you don't think Swift's going to be asking for the ball? Like, I do think Caleb is more suited for this kind of this overall talent level on the offensive end.
I agree, but not only that, Nas, to top that off, I think, so, let's say you're Odunze coming to me as Caleb, and you're like, man, what's going on? We're in the 3rd quarter, I ain't got no touches. Shut the fuck, I got you. Because he has the skill set to back that up, to say, hey, shut the fuck up right now. Let me cook. You'll get your targets. So there may be some games where, Keenan goes 2 for 40 and Odunze is the one that goes off that day. But I think throughout a full season, he has the ability to spread that thing around where everyone gets to eat. So not only do I agree with you with the personality and that sort of leadership and that sort of cockiness is there, it wouldn't go over well if he didn't have the ability to actually say, hey, shut the fuck up. Not just to shut up, because I'm going to get you later. Just relax right now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, catch the fucking ball.
Exactly. Just stay warm. Stay warm. Stay on your stool. What was the Darnell Mooney football catchment? They would never shut up the jugs machine. Stay on the jugs machine on the sideline. Keep your hands warm. It's coming to you. Relax. Like, he not only does he have the mindset for it, he has the skill set to just back that up throughout a full year. And I think that's what it's, because I agree with you. I don't know if Justin would have folded per se. I just don't think he would have had the skill set to support. I mean, we just kind of saw it. Like, him and DJ were fucking butter. That was great, but everything else didn't click as much. Whereas I think Caleb is going to make it work and let everyone to a point where if Waldron can be as good as maybe we think he could be, it could be one of those games like, hey, this is we saw the matchup style and this was the Keenan game. We saw the matchup style. This was the DJ. You know what I mean? And they're able to make a defense pick their poison.
Yeah, I think all of this is part of the larger conversation of the quandary of like, okay, roster building for now, building for the long term, being patient in certain areas, jumping, at certain opportunities when they arise at other times, like all of us as fans are like, I've got to be talking out of both sides of my mouth several times over the last couple of weeks. So it's like, oh man, like, but roster building, like, we got to build it this way, like, so long term, like, Caleb, doesn't, he's got the right mindset. It's like, but I still want to win now, and our talent level needs to be at this level. And it's just like, yeah, that's what makes the job really hard. Like, you have to weigh the pros and cons and see, like, okay, this is not really a strength for us. How are we going to patchwork and make this better? And like, taking this blue chipper at this position at this spot, is that worth, like, that's part of the job. And like, it's very easy for us to second guess what Poles does. Like,
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think you said it perfectly early on after I went on that long rant, was like, opportunities to draft blue chippers, you don't really pass those up. If you get a blue chip player, those are rising tides. Those help everyone else on the team. And we got 2 in the first 9 picks.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, like, yeah, depth is nice. Depth is specifically nice when there's a really nice top tier level of talent on the team.
Yeah. And no, exactly. That's the whole thing. You think about like that 2018 team. Bryce Callahan can't be Bryce Callahan without Prince and Fuller doing their thing. Like, at the end of the day, he'd just be another slot corner. You get what I'm saying? Like, weird example. I don't know why that was the first thing that popped into my head, but that's your whole point, is that this is going to rise this thing. So there may be even a game where it's like fucking Tyler Scott end around wins the game or something crazy, because it just opens up for these other dudes to make these splash plays every now and then. Like, that's what could happen.
All I'm thinking is Komet is going to be more open, and like, that's kind of crazy to say, because this dude no one gives a fuck about this dude. He rarely gets covered, and that's going to get multiplied by 1,000 if he's on the field. It's gonna be crazy. Honestly, this is a great problem to have. It's just like, what is at Waldron's fingertips is crazy. Like, I hope he's open to just trying everything. That would be my hope for him as a game planner, because there's so much available here. It's kind of scary. It's a great problem to have. It's just like, bro, like, you better not be sticking, we play in a cold city. We can't have 3 receivers out all the time, for one. But then it's like, but on those nice days, it's like, all right, like, let's just fucking sling it, Yeah. Oh my God. This is so much fun.
I know. Let's continue on the fun. 3rd round pick, Kiran Amegadjie, I believe is how you say his last name, left tackle. One thing before I kick it off to you. You hear some people all the time, oh, I grew up a Bear. I grew up a this fan. I grew up a that fan. This kid was really a fucking Bears fan. Did you see his tweets that came out? He's like one of us. That's fucking incredible. To see him the offensive line's doing horrible. And that was 2020 when Matt Nagy was just calling fucking boneheaded plays. And this kid is just sitting in, I forget what suburb he's from, but like, that was incredible, dude.
Is it Hinsdale?
I think you're right. I think it's Hinsdale, yeah. But that to me was really, really cool. What do you think about him?
I haven't looked like pretty much at any of his footage. It sounded like a depth pick and maybe a project kind of thing. I would hope it's a scenario like, oh, this guy played tackle in college. Let's see how he does at guard kind of thing. That's kind of my hope. Or like, okay, we're not super sure about Braxton long-term at this position, but maybe we can develop this guy while Braxton's playing tackle for us and see if we can turn this guy into a guy, kind of like, if you had like Kirk Cousins and you would take maybe like a 21-year-old and not a 38-year-old, like, oh, like, let's sit a guy on the bench kind of thing and develop him under the radar while our older quarterback kind of leads us. I think this is like kind of one of those scenarios, but like with some common sense attached to it.
Yeah. Michael Penix has gotten older and older as this episode has gone on, and it's been beautiful. This pick, do you remember, Nas, when I told you the articles were coming out about what Ryan Poles said about Patrick Mahomes when he was in that front office and why they took him, and I guess to refresh your memory, it was we don't always care about the negatives if the negatives are coachable, meaning like footwork can always be coached up. I have faith that I'm hiring the right guys and this guy's going to put in the right work to get that corrected. It's about what you can do on a field, not what you can't do, especially when what you can't do is coachable. So that this pick to me embodies that, because that kid's measurables, his length, his core strength is like he tested crazy, and that's what Poles loves. What a lot of the feedback from scouts why he wasn't a second or first round guy was that his footwork wasn't all that good, his hand placement wasn't the greatest. That's coachable stuff. That's the stuff that Poles is talking about, where it's like, if I get him in the right system and I put him on a development plan, we can fix that. But he has the measurables that you're born with. You're not, you know what I mean? I can't wake up one day and be 6'6", 300 and move that way, and have that level of strength. And so that sort of, I love, and it just sort of all goes back to how much I love Ryan Poles, is he just has a philosophy that he's sticking to. And I love that. Like, because he's already having success with it. Like, hopefully, the ceiling on that's very high, but like my prevailing thoughts were, once I saw what, because let's make no mistake, y'all. I should have prefaced and said this. I don't know how to necessarily evaluate offensive linemen. That's not me. I've gotten better at looking at quarterbacks and what they can and can't do. Receivers, I got pretty good at. Running backs are just kind of all the same, so it is what it is. But like, I'm not looking at O-line play, so I'm seeing what scouts are saying, what people are saying, and the prevailing thought is he's like an immediate swing tackle, like right now. So just what you said, that depth is there. That's the floor for it this year. It's like, if he can't beat anyone out on that line, he's in. But I do think, to your bigger point, is he has a chance to start somewhere, because this staff has continuously said, we're putting the best 5 guys out there and we're going to make this thing work. And that's why they put Tevin Jenkins at right guard after he lost his right tackle spot. I think you might be a little bit pigeonholed with Braxton Jones, because it's something that we've jotted, we've talked about a little bit of maybe kicking him inside. But the one thing people made really good points about Braxton coming out was why he wasn't a higher pick, is that his core strength isn't all that great. That's why he's not the greatest at run blocking. So this kid may be kicked inside right away. And then, to your point, you see what you have, not only in him, but is Braxton the answer at left tackle moving forward? I didn't hate the pick. I liked it. I wanted linemen at some point in this draft. And I think, not to get too far ahead, but they picked 2 guys who have insane measurables that just go along with the philosophy of what Ryan Poles has talked about in the past.
Everything you just said just got me really excited. Because I didn't know too much about this dude, and I was like, oh shit, that's true? Oh shit, okay, all right, yeah. I mean, especially when it comes to linemen, I'm actually gonna, I'm already deferring to someone who's a GM of a pro football team, but I would defer even more, I think, someone who has experienced being a lineman and scouting linemen, like, if he thinks this guy's got something to use a 3rd round pick on, fine. Like, let's do it. I also think having the luxury of Caleb already, I mean, this is all dependent on Caleb and being able to, he's got the ability. And I don't know about you, but if I were to attack the Bears O-line in any way, I would go through the interior.
Yep. Agreed.
And if Caleb has shown one thing, it is he knows how to flush the pocket and keep his eyes down the field, maintain poise, and make accurate throws. So it's like there is a chance of this being covered up. We also, this is getting a little nerdy, but like, when Roshan's on the field, like, he's good at picking up those extra guys. Like, we're gonna, I was not so excited about our O-line, but like, I'm starting to talk myself into it, because now the draft has happened and not everything that I wanted exactly happened. So like, I'm like trying to see the goods, like the other side of the fence. Like, all right, well, in this scenario, like, we have a QB who might be able to like kind of cover some of these inefficiencies up. And so it gives you the opportunity to maybe take a chance on a guy whose measurables are above and beyond, and maybe turn him into a player.
100%. And the thing is, I think this is going to be a theme early on in Caleb's tenure. And me and Jack did the same exact thing when Justin was here. I don't like to do it, but I think it's the best way to do it. I mean, I say I don't like it. Fuck it. I'm trying to like protect people's feelings. We're going to compare early Caleb to early Justin and see the different, or even like early Caleb to like last year's Justin, because we did the same exact thing with Justin and Mitch, and you were able to see that Justin was the better prospect and why he was, you got to just see the differences. And I say all that to say what you just talked about with the O-line. I trust that Ryan Poles, when he decided to move on from Justin, who, make no mistake, he was just on that interview today, and I figured I'd bring this up in some form or fashion. He said that literally after week 17, they knew they were moving on from Justin. It wasn't even like they didn't need any more evaluation. I don't think he said, I only read this, so I didn't hear the way he said it. I don't think he meant literally that one game, but it was like, we got a full sample size here. We no longer need your services. And I say that to say, I think we're going to see really quick how they felt like Justin was affecting that offensive line. Because something that you just said reminded me of that, of like, we have a guy who can maybe help out with some of the negatives of this offensive line right now, sort of minimize that, what the offensive line can't do. Because we know we just had a quarterback that maximized that, unfortunately. He held the ball very long. He relied a lot on his athleticism to break tackles in the backfield, and it was electrifying, make no mistake, but it wasn't always conducive to the flow of an offense, and it sort of shot the offense in the foot more times than, it electrified a play. So that's the one thing that I do think that Ryan Poles has at his disposal, is to say, we didn't make drastic changes because we believe in the guys that we have. We know what we have. They knew they needed a center, and they got one. But it's because I do think that they believe that Justin put that offensive line in bad situations much more than the other way around. And I think you're going to be able to see that with the guy who can play within the flow of an offense much better, whose anticipatory throws are much better. I think he's just a better quarterback out of the gate.
Without a doubt. It's really interesting that you said that Poles verbally said that it was time to move on from Justin. And I mean, at week 17, it's almost like he had a plan, unlike another team who signed a 36-year-old quarterback coming off an Achilles and then drafted a 45-year-old quarterback because of a nice combine session.
Yeah.
What the fuck are we doing? It's just nice to have somebody competent. Now I'm just doing the Coming to America bit where Joe Louis is increasingly getting older.
Yeah, I love it. No, I love it. It's been fun. I shouldn't have pointed it out and let you just keep doing it, because it would have been like more of an Easter egg. Awesome. The most divisive pick of the Bears, 4th rounder, Tory Taylor. Can I just point out the beauty of a Brit announcing an Aussie? That was awesome. I love that. I don't know if they planned it, but it was fucking perfection. Most divisive, I will say, I don't have too many takes on it, Naz. I may formulate some as you go if you have some stronger takes. I don't think people realized how bad Trenton Gill was at his job. He ranked 37 out of 37 in quite a few metrics. I didn't jot down all of them. 35 out of 37 in others. He wasn't the greatest, not only directionally, but I mean, they were like breaking down a bunch of nerdy punt stats that I just, didn't. I saw those numbers and I said, it was time to move on. I think maybe the only thing that people may have a problem with is taking a punter in the 4th round itself. Like if they got him in the 6th or the 7th, maybe they wouldn't have an issue, but people seem to be a little upset. Well, I mean, 50-50 upset, and, some didn't really care.
This is our 6th or 7th round pick. At the point where we took him, we didn't have any picks left, guys. Yep. And it doesn't matter where you draft somebody. It matters how they play. And if this guy is top 3 in all the metrics you just got described and pinning teams back, and we're winning the field position game, this whole conversation doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that, and in our scenario, at this moment in time, it was our last pick. And it's about roster building. And do I think it was a little bit of a luxury pick? Yeah. Was I a little shocked? I would say that would be an understatement. Am I doubting Poles a little bit? Do I think he might be overestimating the true talent level of this roster to be drafting punters? Maybe. but I kind of got over that like fairly quickly. It wasn't something I needed to wrap my head around. I was like, all right, he was like, okay, well, we can take some developmental guys, or we can take a guy that we know is going to be really good for the field position game on his own that we don't need to develop on any level. And it's our last pick of the draft unless I decide to trade it. I feel like that's a pretty sound thought process, in my opinion. And so, though I was like stunned, I got over that pretty quickly and it was like pretty okay with it. Like, I would say within like 8 minutes, I was like, okay, all right, fine.
Yeah. It's, we got a generational talent, and we also got Caleb Williams, because Tory Taylor is. I was waiting to use that line.
Oh my God, that's so good.
Tory Taylor. So good. I've never seen a punter highlight video before. I mean, I'm right there with you. I'm not going to sit here and act like I know how to evaluate punters and this, but Pat McAfee was through the fucking roof for this kid, and he's not that way with everyone. Like, he's a special teams guru. He was awesome, a kicker, punter. He knows his stuff. But once I saw that Tory Taylor was mocked anywhere from the 3rd through the 5th round, and people, like, it was very clear that the league is high on this kid. Like, they knew he's one of those guys. Special teamers don't go this high unless they're that guy. I think the only one that did was the Bucks drafted that dude was only hitting like 40-yarders in the 2nd round. The Bears had him for a little bit too. What was his name? Aguayo,
yeah.
Aguayo.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget the Raiders took old big leg Janikowski for round 1.
Yeah, listen.
You know.
But it's so funny that you said that, because that was my exact take on it when it happened. Was like, is it a luxury pick? Feels so. But then once I like, people were digging into like how bad Gil was, like, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was just a position of need that we just don't fucking care about, because who fucking cares about punting as fans? You know what I mean? It just is what it is. But it was clearly a position of need. But then, two, that was my first thought, was like, anyone complaining, this was our last pick, dude. And part of me was like, I know this didn't happen, but I made the scenario in my head. Poles was like, last pick, we don't know if we're trading back in. I'm putting my nuts on the table and we're getting a fucking punt.
Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
He's earned it, first of all. Also, okay, just think about this from a fan perspective. Okay, what do you want Poles doing this offseason? Do you want him grading and working out undrafted punters this offseason? That's not like a little bit of time. That like takes time. Or do you let him, with our then last pick of the draft a dude that he does not have to think twice about? What helps our team more? I don't even think it's close.
I agree.
Like, that is an inefficient thing to be doing in the offseason. And maybe this leads to someone who's undrafted that gets on our roster that ends up being another impact player. So, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, like, nuts on the table time. Great way to say it. And he's earned it. And I like that for his summer plans. Now he doesn't gotta fucking waste his time watching undrafted dudes kick balls in the air for 4 or 5 seconds at a time. Like, fuck that noise. No.
Yep. No, totally agree. And it's so funny because going into the last pick of the Bears draft, his name was literally brought up when they drafted Tory Taylor. Like, how could you pass on Austin Booker? He's there. He shouldn't even have fell that far. What does Poles do? He says, you know what? Again, this is just a narrative I drew up in my head because I love him. You know what? You guys want Austin Booker? Okay. I got a little pick that I can go. I have a surplus of 2025 picks. You want him? We'll fucking get him. Okay? Let's go up and get him. They get a kid. Max Crosby is the comp. He had one more year of eligibility, and by all accounts, he got drafted in the 5th round this year. I didn't get a chance to dig into why he fell. He's a little more raw. Maybe that's just what it was. There was nothing else. I don't know if there were any sort of character concerns. But he, just off of physical talent, he got a 2nd or 3rd round grade for most guys. And everyone was saying, not everyone literally, but was saying he stays one more year of college. He has a real shot to be a 1st round pick in 2025, but he just decided to leave a year early.
I mean, I love it. I think you and I have been talking about this. Like, we need more D-line help.
Yep.
So it's like, and fresh legs matter, especially late in games. And I think we're all expecting to contend for the playoffs, maybe not contend for a Super Bowl, but be in the playoff mix. And a lot of those games, whoever's got fresher legs is really going to matter. So, and a guy who, from what I understand, his like best move is the bull rush and just like coming right at people. I love that for us. I love adding depth in that way. And I thought that pick was a home run.
Same, especially because over the years, I feel like it's even with Ryan Pace, a lot of the times it was like, let's raise the floor, but then it stood there. It was always like, let's draft floor guys. And like that gets you to 7 wins, 8 wins. Again, I love Ryan Poles. I just said Pace, so it threw me off. I love Ryan Poles' philosophy. They did build the floor. The floor is high now. The floor is much higher. Let's start digging into that ceiling. Let's start trying to punch through the ceiling now. And this is another one of those dudes, the same way as the Kiran in round 3. These are ceiling moves. Now, is the floor, did you raise the floor with it? No, because the floor can be low. They got drafted. They're not first round picks for a reason. But if they can tap into even a little bit of what their potential is to hit that ceiling, what is the saying? You shoot for the moon, you might land on a star, even if it's that. But if we can get to the fucking moon, by all means, I mean, you're talking about crazy. I mean, you're talking about Max Crosby. You're literally talking about Max Crosby if you land on the moon. And I just love that it's like, we're not going to get a guy in the 5th round that went to Georgia, that went to Bama, that we know can play football, that we know was raised in a nice Southern home, and he's going to play safety for the Chicago Bears, and he's solid, but he's not. No. Let's get a guy who has a clear ceiling. Not a clear one. I mean, a high one. That maybe the floor is fucking Satan. Maybe he's down. Maybe the floor. But I just love that he's sticking to a philosophy. 1, but 2, he's showing to me that's a show of faith to either the coaching staff that you have on the ground now, and if you know what they can't get it done, I can find someone who can. I can find position coaches and things that can. That to me is a huge. I mean. Think about that, Nas. If I'm the GM, you're the coach, and I get you a guy and I say, look, if all else fails with this kid, he's not going to be able to play. He ain't going to be in your rotation. But if you can tap into him, I got faith that you can tap into him to hit that ceiling or at least raise his floor. This kid's going to be something special. Does that not leave you with much more faith than me saying, you know what, this kid's going to be a rotational guy his whole fucking career, and it's going to be great for you? Like, how does that leave you as someone who's trying to develop people? You know what I mean?
No, I mean, and also like just from like. Poles is a very, like, you can tell, especially with the way like he does extensions and times out contracts, he's very pragmatic.
Yep.
And it's like, okay, if I hit on a ceiling guy that we draft, like homegrown contracts are just naturally cheaper as well. So it's like, okay, if we hit on one of these guys and I get to extend him, 1, I got him in an insane cheap deal to start with.
Oh, yeah.
And the extension is also going to go our way, too. And I just fucking love everything he's doing. I just love the mentality of everything he is doing. Like, it's starting to feel like the Claypool move is the aberration and the exception. And everything else is the rule.
No, 100%.
It's like, guys dialed in, and I fucking love it. And I'm in. I'm in on a lot of it. Like depth guys are getting rotated throughout rosters all over the league. Let's use these picks on someone who can really raise our ceiling and make us a player on both ends. Agreed.
And again, my thing is like, we finally have a dude who, and I don't want to say he's the only guy in our lifetime who had a philosophy, because Jerry Angelo had one as well. I just think it got outdated after.
It was successful too.
Exactly. It just got outdated. But besides him, we have a guy with a philosophy that fits today's NFL. So again, people are gonna watch this video. We have Packers fans and Vikings fans that watch this, and they're going, "Oh, look at the fucking Bears are being optimistic again." Here they go, and that's fine. I get that. We can still be the laughing stock for now, but just trust when I say I've never felt this way about a regime actually putting things together, because this may all fail. You may be right, and you could be laughing, and you're going to save this episode and throw it back in my face in 4 years if everything fails, right? But again, in the moment right now, there are no question marks. Like, now it's about execution, and we'll dig into that in the offseason about what we feel about the coaching staff and the this and what we want to see and expectations and blah, blah, blah. But as it stands right now, there's a clear philosophy here. There's a clear way to move forward. There's a guy who's executing at a fucking high level. And make no mistake, we're talking about ceilings. Ryan Poles is 38 years old, dude. He has the ability to be here for the next 20-something years. I mean, at that point, you're going to make him like everything. He's going to be the VP. He's going to be the part ownership. Give him whatever he wants if he can bring us Super Bowls. But, I mean, my goodness, dude. You're talking about system. You're talking about, like, the potential, and this is super early, so I don't want people to kill me for it, but you're talking about a potential Pittsburgh Steelers situation here, where you're just, it's sustained success for 20-plus years.
Yeah. I mean, he's slinging some serious heat right now. And I also want to point out, like, we get so caught up in the now and these draft picks and like whether it was the right picks, like part of roster building, like there's some of these are going to be misses, and that's fine. And then we have all of our picks going into next year. Plus the Carolina pick.
That extra second. It's it. Yep.
Exactly. So it's just like, all right, like, let's just say two of these guys are duds. I still don't, as long as they're not Roman Caleb, I still don't fucking care, because we got all our picks and a premium pick going into next year, and we could build it out there. The hit rate for any team is usually pretty low. It's like every once in a while you have a transcendent draft class that really like props up a team, and this could not be one of them. And then next year's could be, and that is kind of the way it goes. Yep. And I love the swings. Like, absolutely, let's go. We're in a position where our baseline and our floor is so high that we are going to be so competitive that if we hit on one of these dudes, oh my God, it takes us into another stratosphere. So let's go.
Yeah, no, again, some of these picks are philosophically, I love with the ceiling stuff, but it's a little greedy. And you know why it's a little greedy? Because just what you said earlier, like, we could have ended the episode fucking 5 minutes in, because what you just said is the prevailing thought that every Bears fan needs to have. We have blue chip talent that's going to rise all, what is it? The tide rises all, I don't know how to go. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If Caleb and Rome hit, it does not matter if that left tackle doesn't pan out. It does not matter if Austin Booker, if Tory Taylor isn't good. Those two, just in of themselves, and Keenan rising that, it's going to cover holes. Ryan Poles is drafting talent that's going to cover holes on this roster. It just is what it is. I mean, we saw what Montez Sweat last year. We went from, I mean, we still wound up being overall pretty bad pass rusher, but just look at what he did from when he got there to the end of the season. Now all of a sudden, Javon Dexter's looking like a better prospect. Now all of a sudden, why am I blanking? The dude we got from Tennessee on the opposite edge is looking like maybe he's got a little bit more game than we thought. And Ngakoue had a few more like, that's what happens. That's what happens when you do that. It's exactly. Yeah. I mean, so we're built for success, Nas. I'm excited.
I can't wait. I love that we keep building towards it. We're not taking luxury picks at 8 and drafting a quarterback that's going to be a senior citizen next season while we got a QB off an Achilles. Like, we're making real picks. We're like, do the Falcons think they're going to the Super Bowl with their current roster? I'm sorry that I cannot get off of this. It's just like, it blows my mind to be this incompetent. And I'm more salty about it because of the whole Belichick shit.
Oh, yeah.
And like the clear coup that occurred, and then the clear incompetence that is now ensued as a result.
Yep.
It's just crazy. And I'm just so thankful we're being run by a dude who knows what he's doing.
I know. I'm with you. I'm with you. All right, Nas. I'm excited. We are officially entering the off season. I have some pretty fun ideas to swing yours and Jack's way that we'll get into. Obviously, again, we're going to talk a lot about like expectation setting and over unders and blah blah blah, even like fantasy stuff. I mean, it's going to be fun. Nas, thank you for taking the time. Everyone, thank you for listening. Remember to like, share, subscribe on all platforms. Audio is everywhere. Video is only on YouTube. Share this with your friends, other Bears fans who are excited, because we are not going to be the pessimists. I fucking refuse. I'm all in. And if I get my heart broken, I get my fucking heart broken, but I'm all in.
It's all right. It's all good. This is it.
Yep.
This is it, babe.
This is it. All right, Nas.
All right.
Later.
Later.